Welcome to U Version 2 podcast with me, your host, Brendan McCauley. And today we have an extra special guest, Brian Parsley. Brian, I don't want to define who you are, so maybe you would like to give us a little bit of an intro about Brian Parsley.
Well, he's a special guest, right? Somebody special
Sure
that we're going
is.
to have. He speaks with that American tongue. I live in North Carolina, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk today. Look, I'm an entrepreneur. Maybe you are an entrepreneur. Maybe you listening to this and you have a career. Either way is fantastic. But we all have something in common, whether you're 22 or 62, and that is, I think we all want to have purpose and fulfillment and happiness. And I can just share with you from my journey being an entrepreneur, there's just like your life, a lot of ups, a lot of downs and challenges. But our company is called the Constance Group. And we are a global company that works with organizations around building cultures, leadership cultures, sales cultures, using behavioral science. So what better topic than to speak around happiness and fulfillment, especially on this topic.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And it is our pleasure to have you with us. And we'd love to learn from your experiences and your journey with the audience. And as I mentioned, as we talk about this subject of happiness, your personal experiences may arise or events may come up in discussion. Let it flow. And if there's stuff you're not comfortable with, we can cut it out. So please.
We're not going to cut anything. I don't want anybody thinking we're going to cut something. Let's just do it raw and real. And that leads to something. Wait a minute. What you just said, I think is part of the challenge we all have. You said if there's something you feel uncomfortable with, or you don't like, we can always cut it out. Well, why? If you think about it, we're trying to be perfect, and we're looking for and seeking perfection. And I think we really need to look at a different way and through a different lens, which is about potential. You see, there's no such thing as perfection. And that's the issue with social proof and social media and all these things. We see someone, we look at a snapshot, and I compare myself. I wish I was a better father. Look at this guy. Look what he gets to do with his family and his children. And we don't see behind the curtain. That is one snapshot over a 24-hour period. It's chaos maybe the rest of the time. And even with something like this, I'd rather see the raw. And if there is something that's not perfect, that's life. And we have to learn to accept that.
Right now, when you talk about perfection, the sun is bloody well shining in on top of me, and it's messing up all the lights. But who the heck cares? At least the sun's shining, so it makes me happy.
And we're both alive, and that to me, listen, here's the thing. As we get into this, I'll just share. May 22nd of 2022, I almost died. And when I say almost, like really almost died in an incident with a plane. And I will tell you that here's what I took away from that.
May 2021.
2021. Yes, sorry. I said 22. May 22nd, 21. Yeah. But for me, so almost a year ago, for me, here's what I took away from that event. Number one, you and I, if you're listening to this, we're one decision, we're one place at the wrong time away from being a speech behind a podium. And by the way, people will cry and be sad for you, and then a week later, they give your stuff away to a charity. Okay? Number two, we take ourselves way too serious. Think about what you really get upset about. And if you can literally look at that and be honest and transparent with yourself and say, is this going to impact me 30 years from now? Am I going to be on my deathbed and say, gosh, my whole life would have been perfect if my meal wasn't late that day in 2022, then it's probably not that big of a deal. And number three, it's not really about $1 million. It's not, those are nice haves. It's great to have those things, but what it's really about are 1 million moments and identifying and understanding what's most important in your life. And to me, if we can rearrange the chairs and in the order of what's most important, it makes our life serve a different purpose. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I like what you're saying also about the perfection issue, because I wouldn't be here talking to you if I was trying to wait to a state of perfection to prepare something or do something, because part of the learning experience is in the doing, and we can always improve. But the key thing, I suppose, is just starting, because you can talk all day about something, but it means nothing until you start walking down that path or doing things. So here we go. I'm here talking to you about your happiness.
Yeah.
So, Brian, first simple question. What does happiness mean to you?
And as you say that, nobody really cares what my happiness is. They hear that question and they go, what does happiness mean to me? And that question, a lot of folks haven't taken the time, I think, to even define what happiness is. A lot of times we define it based on what we believe will make us happy, but it doesn't really make us happy. Now, I'm going to tell you, people that say money doesn't buy happiness, they haven't been shopping at the right store. Because money certainly can buy a lot of great things like travel, memories, opportunities. But you don't have to have money to do those things either. You can be resourceful and creative. I remember when my daughter was young, I took her to Disney, and it was a great time. Disney World, like any kid's dream. But when I was asking her recently, what was the most memorable trip? She's been to Dubai. She's been to safaris in Africa. I mean, in a lot of ways, a life of privilege. And I mean, I sit there and I think of what she got growing up versus what I got growing up, where we were poor, and my daughter's flown Emirates first class.
What an experience, I'm sure.
Amazing. But here's the point of this. This isn't flexing. This is to prove something. And then I asked her, what was the most memorable trip or experience that you've had in your life so far? Thinking, Dad, when I rode a camel out in the desert in Dubai, And she said, remember that time when we were going to go camping and it rained and we had to set up the tent in the house and we did the camp out in the house? That was the best.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
So I think, I think that happiness is really more of a journey than it is. And happiness is around us right now if you look for it, if you find it. And it could be as simple as you saying the sun is shining through. And
the memories that you mentioned, the memories that the good times that are created, it's about creating those times and making happiness, whether it be in social groups or by oneself. They certainly are memorable.
Look, we all have the same challenges. What if I'm not good enough? Everyone struggles with that. What if I fail? I believe if you're not willing to sound foolish, you're not going to grow. And you will fail, and I will fail, and I'm a human, and I'm defective, and I'll screw up multiple times. The challenge is saying, what can I learn from that? And not allowing that to get in the way of what you know to be true. And, our company name, the Constance Group, even though we're now global and we have a team and you can see that online, Constance was my mother's name. And she died when I was 1 year old, pancreatic cancer. I didn't know her. But, it's interesting. Family and friends all said the same thing. Your mom was such a kind person. She looked for ways to serve other people, to help other people. And it inspired me to create a slogan that says, less corporate, more human.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. I didn't realize that.
If all we did was a little bit of undercover kindness to other people, looking for ways to add value, serve, help. And that could be as little as seeing someone struggling with the door and running over to open the door for them. And I know it almost sounds altruistic or hokey, but I can tell you that people have three basic human needs. Everyone wants to feel important, right? They want to feel like they mean something. That's why there's loyalty programs with corporate. They want to feel like they're valued. Who doesn't want to just believe they're part of a family? I'm a Freemason and been involved. It's a 2,000-year-old, fraternity. But the reason why I enjoy it is I'm around like-minded people who want to serve other people. But I think the one important human need that everyone craves, not needs, but craves, is appreciation. Feeling appreciation. If that was a currency, it'd be accepted around the world.
You can certainly see how a real human touch within the corporate environment would actually change the world. Certainly change the world within the corporate space, and certainly have, I would say, happier employees within the various industries.
So let's talk corporate for just 1 second. Like what's interesting and what I see a lot of times is people discuss and talk around terms of, I'm the manager, you're the employee, or the employees, and we put labels on people. When the reality is that we're all humans, we all have different responsibilities, but we must have I think the common respect of saying that I want you to do well. And I understand you're not always going to be perfect either, but I want us to communicate, and I want us to collaborate, and I want us to be able to work towards a common goal together. So happiness, I think, is a byproduct of surrendering to not worrying about what the standard is. In its simplest form, happiness could be, I'm alive today. That's the simplest form of, and yet we drive home, let's say from work, and it's a beautiful day and the trees are green, or you're near the sea, but you don't see any of it because you're focusing on that stupid Zoom call that means nothing.
Yeah.
Because when I was, could have been down the wrong path in terms of life and death, and I could have been dead as much as alive, there wasn't a moment that I sat there and I was worried about a phone call or what someone thought of me. It was fight. And that's
fight to survive.
Yeah.
And I remember actually watching your post that you posted on that. It was amazing. And thank God you're alive.
Yeah. So my point is that I think that we take ourselves too serious. We're not that important. We're all going to be just as wealthy as Steve Jobs when we're dead. We're on this earth 80 years if we're lucky, if you hit no landmines. Some maybe 90, 100, maybe. Yeah. Oh, and you know what else was most interesting? I recently saw a study, and I wish I could quote the study, but they interviewed centennials, people that made it to 100. They started at age 75, followed a large group, and there were, obviously a few that made it. And they listed like these top 10 things that they did, trying to find a common thread of why they lived so long. Believe it or not, and I was a bit shocked with this, and I'm not condoning going to McDonald's every day, but diet was not, it was like number 9. Exercise was like number 8. The number one thing they all had in common was friends, social network, communicating with other people, that connection. And the number 2 thing was having purpose, a hobby, a job, something that gave them to look forward to tomorrow. Just those 2 things.
Absolutely amazing. Gives them the drive.
100%.
That's amazing.
100%.
So, Brian, when was the last time you were really, really happy? Really happy? I know you're happy every day. When were you really, really happy?
I don't know. And that's sad.
No, I don't
think so. Know. Cliche. The day my daughter was born. I didn't even know if I liked my daughter the day she was born. I mean, I was happy she was there, but I don't know her. I didn't, think about it. Like, she could have been a racist. I don't know at that point, you know. I grew to love her as the personality came out, and she makes me happy as almost an adult now. I'm
Mhm.
in my 50s, so the kids are getting older. But I wish that I had, and here's something else that's even equally as sad as me saying I don't know when the last time I was ecstatically happy, although I feel like I'm happy most days. When I go on holiday, and this could be an American culture thing, you know, sometimes I get more pleasure out of the anticipation of the holiday, the planning of the holiday, than when I'm there. It's hard to turn off the stresses from life.
That's so
Maybe,
true for all of us, for so many. Yeah, absolutely.
mm,
We book. I know my wife behaves in such a way that she is more comfortable when she knows the holiday's booked. She can relax because it's booked. And then when it happens, okay, and then it's all over. But the anticipation and the wait and the desire to be there.
I'm going to be in June. We're going to go to South Africa, and we're going to do part of that. I'm going to do a safari for a few days, and I'll vlog it. I'll put it on the Instagram and all that because I enjoy sharing our travels. But just the anticipation, me imagining it. But what I have to do is I'm going to have to leave my phone off, because if I don't, I know what's going to happen. I'll check one email and I'm not in the moment. How do how can we, and I envy those that can just be in the moment. Or I'm going to listen, and maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. I operate out of fear with business. And that's what's kept me, I think, successful in life, is because I always anticipate losing. So I don't want to lose, and I want to work hard, because we grew up poor, like I don't want to be poor, because not because of the money, but because of the freedom that it provides. But I shower, Brendan, with my phone. My phone is with me in the shower. I don't do FaceTime.
Thank God for
Yeah,
that.
but I shower with my phone because I want to be available for people. And maybe that's a curse, but it's hard to turn that off. And I'm so afraid that I'm going to lose. And so what I'll do now, even if I'm on a little holiday, is I'll have my PA or my assistant. She'll um I want her to, I'll forward my phone to her phone, and I have her check my emails, so psychologically I know no one is going
Yeah,
ignore.
no one's going to be missed. It is, and certainly in this day and age, it's something that has to be learned or change our habits. Because during times of stress, I used to go to bed with my phone lying beside me, with all the notifications, bing, 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 and I would be checking an email. Once I checked an email from work, I couldn't stop myself from responding. And sometimes the characters on the recipient end, they just love to do email tennis, and you can be busy there until 1 o'clock in the morning. I said, stop, this is ridiculous. Why am I lying in bed on my phone responding on work emails when I should be sleeping or doing something else? I just like, stop. So I stopped. Thank God for that. Brian, if we met at an event, a conference, in a bar, whatever it was, and we come over and wanted to introduce ourselves, sometimes we introduce yourselves by how you doing? I'm Brendan McCauley. I'm a work in construction. I blah 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 blah. We start to introduce yourselves in certain ways. However, I'm sure you're familiar with the concept of who am I, and not necessarily associating yourself by the thing that you do or the job that you do. You may associate yourself with your passions or something else, however you introduce yourself. If I was to ask you to finish this sentence, I am, could you finish it for me?
um I am. Okay. So, like I don't know. Like, who am I? We're so complex. Are we one thing? I am, or I try to be, the best, the father I wish I had growing up, right? But I am, for me, I put myself second, and I always put others first. I am always looking for a way to serve. I'm always looking for a way to add value to other people. And the risk to that, Brendan, is people take advantage of that, right? But that's okay as well. You can almost have to think like a Buddhist, just give.
Yeah. And
You know?
to get to that state or that awareness, Brian, would it be correct in saying, or fair in saying, you weren't always like that?
I think it really comes down to, you said the word awareness. I think self-awareness, letting our ego kind of sit to the side. It's funny. We all struggle with wanting stuff. I'm going to show you something really interesting. I was in New York City this past weekend with my wife. Went up for the weekend to, just kind of hang out and everything. When I came home, I'll put this up to the camera. I had this in my mail, which is the YouTube play button.
Oh,
for,
yeah.
milestones of hitting
Subscribers.
Yeah, hitting subscribers. I have almost 1 million followers on TikTok, and I don't know, 130 some thousand on YouTube.
Fantastic.
And but what does that really mean? You know where that award is? It's in my daughter's room.
On her shelf.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was the TikTok one from the mask? The funny mask?
I do the mask videos, pranks. I didn't say I was a mature 50-year-old. See, that's the other thing. What I am not is someone that takes themselves too seriously. The problem with that is it offends people. But then again, people get offended that you're offended that I'm offended. People get, the one that gets me the most is people that get offended on behalf of another group that they're not even affiliated with.
Yeah. Oh, don't go there.
And so that is a reflection of their own unhappiness in their own life. If you are spending your time worrying about that negative energy of being offended about stuff that doesn't even concern you, you got bigger issues. That's just my opinion. And I may be wrong, but I'm not. So
I've had those conversations with my daughters, my young teenage opinionated daughters.
Well, they get their history lessons from Instagram, and that's a problem.
Their education is Google, and they know it all because we don't know it, but they know it, and they'll tell us because they know it from Google.
You got it.
Said. I don't want to go down that path. I want to stay in a happy space. So, Brian, we talked about happiness in various states of being and awareness and various things, but are there things that worry Brian Parsley?
I think that for me, I worry that the world we're in right now is moving away from human contact, moving away from connection, moving away from communicating. That's what worries me. And that's why my mission is to drive people to be transparent, have honest conversations, and look at this as an opportunity to and I'm not trying this. I could sound like I'm trying to bring us down, but we're not going to be here forever. So what is it that you want people to really say?
That's for sure. Sorry, I was just trying to see if I could demonstrate it, but right outside my window, and it's no justification, but the sun is setting and it's beautiful. So you can share that happy moment with me.
I love it.
I strategically cut some branches on the trees so I can see the sunset. And that leads me into, the worries and concerns and certain things. Like I say, I love sort of taking that moment to appreciate the sunset. Is there things that you would do, to seek comfort or solace or relax or chill out? Is there something that you like to do?
And that's my struggle. I don't have necessarily a hobby per se. But I do like travel. I do like new cultures. I do love meeting new people and experiencing new foods. And so that is it. It's just logistically sometimes difficult with the day to day, right? So I think that just New York City was a last minute trip. I got home on a Thursday night. We left on a Friday, and I said, let's just go to New York for the weekend. And we're going to leave our computers at home, and we're going to just eat, drink a little, and really just enjoy the weekend together with my wife, obviously. Yeah. So I think those are the things that really make me happy.
Well, if you're ever traveling in Europe and you're heading to Italy, you're more than welcome to try some of my wife's amazing cuisine.
I'm all excited about. I've never been to Italy. That's definitely on my bucket list, and I appreciate the opportunity to be part of your podcast today too.
Listen, I appreciate it. Chatting to you. I know it could go on and on and on, but I'm going to get to a section where just a few simple questions, just quick fire rounds. You can elaborate on the question if you want, Brian, but a simple yes or no or whatever is perfect. But what are you grateful for today?
As simple as, being present, and and I think that a quick exercise we all should do is take stock of, and I just talked to, our teenage daughter this week about, obviously in her mind, it's 100% stress for her situation, and it's real for her. In our mind, because we've experienced so much greater pain than they have, we think that's a road bump, right? But in the moment, wherever you are right now, it feels, it feels horrible. And to be able to just take stock of what you are grateful for, health, if you have sight to see, but if you don't have sight to hear, it's all perspective of how you look at things. So that would be my answer to that question.
Absolutely. There's so much to be grateful for when we pause and think about it. One thing I try to do each morning is when I wake up, just be thankful. Start giving thanks for something. The fact I woke up, the fact that I had a comfortable bed, that I was able to drink water, etc., that I'm in a house. There's so many things. The list is endless. But when we start in that attitude of gratitude, it just, anything other negativity can't get in because we're starting in the gratitude space. So, Brian, are all your relationships going well?
All of them are, except for the ones that are not. The reality is 25% of the world's population is not going to like you. They're not going to like me.
Only 25%? That's not too bad.
25% right off the rip. That's before you open your mouth. That number could go up from there. But just scientifically, from a behavioral perspective, only 25% of the people will not resonate with you. You can always adapt, but that's just it. The relationships that mean most to me are going great. Everybody else, I do my part, but your opinion doesn't pay my bills. So I'm not going to allow someone else, to bring me down with that.
And I think one thing I've learned is, I could sort of, my life's this, my life is X, Y, Z, and start blaming all the other things around the world. It's the job, it's someone else, it's the government, it's the taxes, it's whatever, blame. Until I actually realized it was me who needed to sort of be self-aware about myself and change how I perceive and how I portray and talk. When I started to make that change, then I could work on my relationships by me serving others, serving the wife, the kids, the friends, whatever, as opposed to being my own self-interest. I started to notice little differences, bit by bit. No big major changes, but little. Because when people perceive, if you just talk one thing and you don't actually do it, then they go, yeah, he's just talking rubbish. But when you actually start to do what you say, then they start to think, okay, that's maybe interesting. He's starting to behave the way he talks, so I'll listen a bit more. So I certainly find that trying to walk this path of trying to live a happier life has certainly helped some of my relationships, because it's made me completely change behaviors. Like, for example, we mentioned earlier on, I did a 1 year no beer challenge. Who was the happiest person in my life apart from me?
Not your wife.
My wife.
She's like, you're grumpy all the time. You need to go have a beer.
She did say that sometimes, but that's just going through the process. So
Yeah.
the last thing, Brian, I want to squeeze out of you, the golden nuggets. What are you doing to make the world better?
For me, like with my TikTok channel, which is all my channels are the same, Brian Parsley Speaker, but people go, why do you do that? Like, you do pranks, you're in your 50s, you should be serious. I want to make people laugh. I want to take away some of the seriousness in the world and just have fun.
And laughter scientifically is, if someone does research, it does all amazing things for our bodies and our minds.
I want to have a good time. Not everybody's going to appreciate you doing that. I want to be childlike. Maybe not childish, but childlike.
And if anyone hasn't seen it, please go on to Brian Parsley Speaker on TikTok, and you'll see the video.
We have
where
them on
he went
YouTube.
with the mask.
Everybody's got YouTube. Brian Parsley Speaker on YouTube. They're on there as well. And yeah, it's just good times. Not all of them are on there, but good times.
It was hilarious. It was the mask like a mouth, and I think you caught a lot of people out. It was
Still
funny.
Posting one tomorrow on YouTube.
We'll keep an eye out for it. So Brian, I have enough. I've done with my questions of hopefully you found they weren't too taxing of questions, and I've certainly gained a lot from listening to your experience and your words, and hopefully the audience does too. But definitely I recommend everyone check out Brian Parsley Speaker online. You'll find plenty of interesting, inspirational, motivational tidbits.
And I'm sure you'll put the links
yeah, absolutely.
Your description form to make it easy. But thank you for the opportunity, Brendan. It's always great to see you.
No worries. So from myself, Brendan McCauley, and Brian Parsley, see you on the next one.
All righty.